Okay, so today we're going to be starting topic 4, which is all about expressions. And an expression is a mathematical phrase that can contain numbers, variables, and operation symbols. It's not an equation because an equation has an equal sign in it, so an expression is a little bit different. Now, these notes, so this is all the book work today. So what you can do is you can take out your book and fill in your book. If you are using your book to fill in these notes and not printing out the guided notes, that's totally fine, but you need to do side work. So even though the problems are done for you, all the example problems, I still need to see the work that I'm writing, okay? Like just do it on the side, you know, it gives you some empty space in some areas. Or you could just print out the guided notes as well if you can print. Okay, so starting with example 1, it says to write expressions to represent situations. So example 1, an automatic dog feeder dispenses 2/5 cup of dog food each day. What expression can the dog owner use to determine the amount of food left in the feeder after D days? If we go over here, it says that 2/5 cup is dispensed each day. And then it says that we're starting with 20 cups of food. That's what this means over here in the picture. So if we're starting with 20 cups of food, we're going to write 20. And if it's dispensing 2/5 cups of dog food each day, and we want to determine how much food is left in the feeder, we need to take out 2/5 each day, right? So if we're taking that out, that would be subtraction, not addition, subtraction. Okay, and then if it's 2/5 each day, we're just simply going to write 2/5 times D. And remember, if you put the fraction or the number next to the variable, that means they're multiplied together. So we're starting with 20 and we're taking out 2/5 per day. So I'm using the variable D. So there's our expression. Okay, next problem is the try it. Masumi started with $217 in her bank account. She deposits $25.50 each week and never withdraws any money. What expression can Masumi use to determine her account balance after W weeks? So if we look at the, this is like a bar diagram over here. It's showing that her initial deposit means money you're putting into your bank account. That was $217, and then she's putting in $25.50 per week into her savings account. Okay, so we're starting with 217, and we're adding $25.50 $25.50 per week. So 217 plus 25.50 W. Okay, now the convince me says, how did you determine which value to use for the constant and which value to use for the coefficient? So the constant is just a number that's not next to the variable. It's like plus something or minus something. So this is the constant, 217, so label that. And then the coefficient is 2550. That's the coefficient. The coefficient is whatever number is in front of your variable. And we learned about this in 6th grade math. Okay, so basically I determined that 217 was my constant, okay, because that's the amount I started with. So I determined that 217 was the constant because that is the amount I started with. And then you can say the coefficient is 2550 because it is the amount of change for each week. So it's how much is changing each week. So it's how much is being added each week, basically. Okay, next. Example 2, evaluate expressions. So when it asks you to evaluate, that means find the answer, okay? It means to plug in or substitute in to find the answer. So this problem says the expression 999D plus 1299C can be used to find the total cost of D pounds of almonds and C pounds of cashews. How much does it cost to buy 1.5 pounds of almonds and 2.5 pounds of cashews? So if you look at the diagram here, they're getting this expression from this diagram. So it's $9.99 per pound for almonds, and the cashews cost $12.99 per pound. So they're basically saying $9.99 per pound of almonds and $12.99 per pound of cashews. Why they're saying almonds is D and not A, I'm not really sure why they chose that variable. It doesn't matter what variables you choose, but I probably would have chosen A. I feel like that makes more sense, but whatever, it's fine. So how much does it cost to buy 1.5 pounds of almonds, 2.5 pounds of cashews? The first thing I'm going to do to make this easier, since we have decimals here, I'm going to change this to a decimal as well. So we know that 1.5 is the same thing as 1.5. So I'm going to change that to 1.5. And we know that 2.5 is the same thing as 2.5. So I'm going to change that to 2.5. I'm going to start by writing the expression that it gave us, 999D plus 1299C. Okay, I'm just rewriting that expression that they gave us. And now I'm going to plug in, so 1.5 pounds of almonds, so $9.99, and then you're going to plug in 1.5, and anytime you plug in, you want to put it in parentheses. Okay, that's when you're substituting. Plus $12.99, and then for C, I'm putting in 2.5, so 2.5. Okay, and now what you can do is you could just use your calculator. So I'm gonna use this calculator because this is what most of you have, or something similar to this. So you're just going to do 999 times, these are multiplied together, 1.5, press equals, and that's 14.985. We're not gonna round till the end. Plus, also take your calculator out and do this with me, okay? 1299 times 2.5, which is 32.475. Once again, not rounding till the end, so we keep it really accurate. Now we're going to add these two values together. So 14.985 plus 32.475. So 14.985 plus 32.475. And we get 47.46. So $47.46. Okay? All right, try it. The cost to rent a scooter is $15.50 per hour, and the cost to rent a watercraft is $22.80 per hour. Use the expression 15.5, okay, that's where that came from, S stands for scooter, plus 22.8, 22.80, same thing, times W, watercraft, to determine how much it would cost to rent a scooter for 3.5 hours and a watercraft for 1 3/4 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I started with before, is I'm going to first change these fractions to decimals to make it easier. So 3.5 is the same thing as 3.5, and then I know that 1 3/4 is the same thing as 1.75. And just so you know, like if you somehow forgot what 3/4 is, you could just do 3 divided by 4 in your calculator, and that's 0.75, so it would be 1.75 since the 1 is in front. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the expression, which is 15.5s plus 22.8w, and I'm going to plug in 3.5 for scooter, so 15.5 times 3.5 plus 22.8 times 1.75 for watercraft. So you're substituting in, putting in parentheses. Now we can multiply. 15.5 times 3.5 is 54.25 plus 22.8 times 1.75, that's 39.9. And then we're going to add those two values together. And when you add these two values together, you get 94.15. So it's $94.15. Okay, example 3. Malik and 2 friends earn M dollars in 1 week doing odd jobs. They split the earnings so that each friend gets 1/3 of the total earnings. Malik uses $32.50 of his earnings on lunch each week. Last week, the 3 friends earned $963. How much money did Malik have left after paying for lunch? Write an expression to represent how much Malik has left, then evaluate the expression for the given value. Okay, so we have a lot of words here. This time it doesn't give us the expression, so we have to write it. So starting with Malik and 2 friends earn M dollars in 1 week doing odd jobs. They split the earnings so that each friend gets 1/3 of the total earnings. So 1/3 of the total earnings. And we're saying that earnings is M, okay? M probably standing for money. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, 1/3 of the earnings, so 1/3 M, remember of means multiply, and then we're going to subtract 32.50 because he uses 32.50 of his earnings on lunch each week. So we're taking that away. Okay, so we made our expression. Now we have to evaluate. It says that last week the 3 friends earned $963. So we're going to plug in that for earnings. So we have 1/3 times 963 minus 32.50. Okay, so now when you're taking 1/3 of something, when you're doing 1/3 times 963, that's the same as doing 963 divided by 3. When you take 1/3 of something, that's the same as dividing by 3. So I'm going to start with that, and that gives me 321 minus 32.50. And then when you subtract 32.50, you get $288.50. So there's your answer. That is how much money Malik had left after paying for lunch. Okay, try it. Amelia earns $8.74 per hour plus a gas allowance of $3.50 per day at her job. How much does Amelia's job pay in a day when she works 5.5 hours? Write an expression and evaluate for 5.5 hours. Okay, so if she's earning $8.74 per hour, that would be 874 times H. That says 874 per hour. Plus, add a gas allowance of $3.50 per day. Now, that would normally be $3.50D, like per day, but we're only finding 1 day in a day. Okay, so we could just put plus $3.50. So it says if she works 5.5 hours, we need to figure out how much money she makes. So we need to plug in 5.5 or 5.5 into hours. So 8.74, substitute in 5.5 plus 350. Now we're going to go to our calculator. So 874 times 5.5, and that's 48.07 plus 350, and that's $51.57. All right, do you know how questions? We're going to do these together. Starting with number 1, a tank containing 35 gallons of water is leaking at a rate of 1/4 gallon per minute. Write an expression to determine the amount of gallons left in the tank after n minutes. So we're starting with 35 gallons of water, and then it says it's leaking. Leaking means taking away. Okay, that's not adding. That would mean taking away. So taking away is subtraction. 1/4 gallon per minute. I'm going to say minute as m, so 1/4 per minute, and there we go, that's our expression. Or you could use 0.25, that would be okay too. Number 5, write an algebraic expression that Marshall can use to determine the total cost of buying a watermelon that weighs W pounds and some tomatoes that weigh T pounds. How much will it cost to buy a watermelon that weighs 18.5 pounds and 5 pounds of tomatoes? So first we're going to write an algebraic expression. So the algebraic expression, starting with watermelon, would be 0.68 times W for watermelon, pounds of watermelon, plus 325, okay, tomatoes, times T. I write my T's kind of like this so they don't look like a plus sign. And now we have to evaluate. So 18.5 pounds of watermelon, that's the same thing as 18.5. So we're going to do 0.68 times 18.5 plus 3.25 times 5. And we could plug that in the calculator. So 0.68 times 18.5 is 12.58 plus 3.25 times 5 is 16.25. And then if we add those two numbers together, we get $28.83. Okay, next. What is the value of 3/8 x minus 4.5 when x equals 0.4? So there's a couple different ways you could do this. You could keep this 0.4 as a decimal, and then what you could do is you could just do 3/8. To do that in the calculator, in my calculator I could just do 3/8. Like I can put a fraction in my calculator. Some of you can't, so what you could do is you could do 3 divided by 8 to figure out what that decimal is, and it's 0.375, and then you can multiply by the 0.4. Or another way to do this is to change this to 4/10, because 0.4 is the same thing as 4/10, right? Because it's 4 in the tenths place. So then you could just multiply the fractions, which, I don't know, I feel like that might be a harder way to do it. So we can just keep it as 0.4. So 3/8 times 0.4, so we're just plugging x in here, minus 4.5. So remember, you can do 3 divided by 8 in your calculator to figure out what that decimal is, and then multiply it by 0.4, and that's 0.15 minus 4.5. So 0.15 minus 4.5 is negative 4.35. Okay. Last one. What is the value of 8.4n minus 3.2p when n equals 2 and p equals 4? So we're just going to plug in. So n equals 2, we plug that in for n, substitute. So 8.4 times 2 minus 3.2 times p, which is 4, plugging in 4 for p. Now we put this in our calculator. 8.4 times 2, that you could probably do in your head, 16.8, minus 3.2 times 4 is 12.8, and then we can subtract 16.8 minus 12.8, and we get 4. Okay, that is it. So now you're going to do your practice and problem solving for your assignment. Have a good day.